Okay, so let's have a little look at the slice ideas then. So a few steps that you can check when you're videoing your golf swing. I've done some analysis for you with my GAS system. I've got two high-speed cameras in my studio here, so videoed my swing, measured obviously the ball data from the Foresight GC2 HMT, so everything quantified and measured. I've demonstrated some shots today. So this is one of the combination of club path. I always sort of refer the club path as the direction that you swing the shaft and then the angle of the club face. So where is the club face pointing? So this particular shot that I took here was a fairly neutral path, slightly in to out across the golf ball, which is my sort of common club path. Fairly neutral being I always take 4 degrees out to in or in to out being relatively neutral, close to the target line, close to being a sort of an arc and near to zero, to give you a perfect collision of club into ball. So this one was neutral path and a open club face. We can see here from the data here on the GAS system that it's nearly 13 degrees open, the club face. So where did that go on the Foresight FSX software? So we can see from the GC2 HMT data, club face open. We can see how far right that ball went, with significant loft, and then curved off to the right as well. So quite a wild delivery with an open club face. So let's have a little look. We can see from the swing on the left here that the path is fairly neutral. So when I bring to the shaft to its sort of final parallel point, sort of parallel to the toes and target line, the shaft, the head is quite level with my hand, slightly out, which is fine. You see the club face that looks okay here. Toe is quite a bit pointing up, which all looks okay. Come in at this point here, which is a fraction of time before strike, and the club face is pointing right somewhere towards the red arrow once I strike the golf ball. So on touch, when the ball touches the club face was right, and we can see where the ball was struck. So let's have a look on this video here then on the right hand side. So from the slow motion, you can see from my delivery the deliberate open club face pointing right of the golf ball, between the golf ball and the GC2 there, sort of going out to the right, squirted the ball higher than normal with added loft with the open face. Off target, nearly 50 yards, so 47.49 yards off target. So that was the neutral path with open club face. Just over 47 yards off line. So you can see with the big open club face, nearly 13 degrees, how much that sends that ball to the right and how much it affects. Okay, so when we look at the second, so this was 33 yards offline. The club path was just over 3 degrees to the left. The club face was only 6 degrees right of the left club path. This was an out to in swing path, slightly out to in, slightly to the left, about just over 3.5 degrees swung to the left of the target line. I always refer to the swing path as the direction that I swing the club across, the club shaft across the golf ball. So this was me manipulating a swing. So if we have a little look at this one here, as I get, looks fairly neutral here, but at this frame here we can see the club head is significantly more sort of out towards the ball relative to the hands. So it comes from outside the target line, it's wiping slightly across the target line with an open club face. Okay, so if I just wind that back a little bit and we look at that frame just before impact on the high-speed cameras. So this one here, we can see the club face is looking somewhere down this sort of red arrow, swinging it more left of the red arrow. The ball starts somewhere between the two, hitting the screen there with the yellow dot. Okay, so if we have a little look at this swing here, so my manipulated attempt to get an out to in swing path with a club face that's open to the swing path and open to the club face, so we can, open to the target line. So as we see from this frame here, the club face is pointing right of the golf ball.
Just finding dry ground at 12 is not enough. It's
And a curving left to right ball. So when we look at this one, we can see obviously the GC2 data here on foresight, so we can see the out to in swing path, we can see the open club face, open to path and open to target. So was that as destructive as the neutral path with the open club face? No, it wasn't. That was 33 yards off target with my swing style. Okay, so just goes to show. In this second video, I've got one more combination to show you as well, but already we're starting to see a trend with how destructive the club face can be when it's wildly off target and wildly off line relative to the line that the path that you swing the club or shaft on. So when the club face is just 6 degrees open to that path, it's only 33 yards offline. So when the face is more matched to the path, it's certainly going to be less offline. So we can see from the GC2 data there, so the ball started relatively straight, curving to the right. You can see a little bit of height on that, a little bit higher than the normal trajectory as well. Okay, so when we look at the final video, so this was me deliberately manipulating a swing and a club path to the right. A sort of final combination of the most common combinations that I see with my clients out of the sort of thousands of golfers that I've taught the game to, and with the high-speed cameras captured via the gasp analysis system that I've got here. So let's have a look at the swing on the left-hand side. So before we start, actually, let's have a quick look at the GC2 data, so we can see that the path is in to out and the club face was open to the path. Okay, so I swung the shaft of the club from in to out across the golf ball, and the club face was pointing more right of the direction I swung the shaft. Okay, so let's have a look at the swing then. So let's revert back. We can see from not much difference here in the backswing. On the downswing, we can see not a massive amount of difference there. Maybe the club at this position here slightly behind the hands, which is slightly different from the out to in swing. Okay, so as we come into the golf ball, club face is right, just that fraction of time before the ball touches the club face. Club face is right, pointing somewhere down towards the red arrow, striking the golf ball with an in to out path, ball striking the screen roughly where that yellow dot is there as well, the yellow circle. So the ball starting between the direction I swung the club and the direction I pointed the club face. So between the club path and the club face. Okay, so when we look at the view here, we can see so definitely club head behind the hands a little bit more on the downswing, path into out, club face pointing right on this shot here, a fraction before impact. Ball starting right, curving right in the air. We can see the club path here just over 4 degrees to the right, so 3 degrees more to the right than my normal club path. The club face was 8 degrees open. Okay, not as much as the 13, which was the big, wildly open club face, but 8 degrees open, and that created a shot that was 45 yards offline. So you're starting to see the trend here, okay, of the difference, the gap between the club path and the club face, okay? The bigger that gap, the more offline your golf ball is going to be, the more curve it's going to have on it. First of all, I would be checking the factor that has the biggest influence from my experiment here and showing and demonstrating to you with my high-speed cameras and tracking the ball data with the GC2 HMT. First and foremost, step number one, check your club face. Make sure you've not got a club face that's pointing right of the direction that you're swinging the club or the shaft. Okay, step two, check the club path. Make sure you're not wiping the club across the golf ball with an out to in swing or an in to out swing, which is going to start to increase the amount of bend or curve potential that you're going to have on, be able to put on the golf ball. Okay, and step number three, then you go back to the combination of the two. So if you are swinging it in to out or swinging it out to in, make sure that you line the club face up to that path. Okay, so that's going to at least keep the ball and send the ball down the line you're swinging it. So it might be a pull to the left or a push to the right, but at least it doesn't have the curve, and it's going to have a better face angle and a better launch. All things considered, if we're saying that the ball was struck out the middle of the club face. Okay, so check the face, check the path, and then check the combination of both face and path. So simple step series of slice and the ideas and me demonstrating some possibilities, obviously the most common trends that I see with my clients. I hope you enjoyed that video and enjoy your golf.